Hey friends, and welcome back to the India and Stuff show. I am just about to enter my wedding season. If you don't know, I'm a wedding photographer full time, and this year my very first wedding is coming up this weekend. So I have quite a lot of amazing wedding clients that I work with and lots of fun weddings this year. I'm very excited for the 2025 bridal season. So when you're in this wedding vendor career, you see a lot of weddings, obviously. And I always find it fun to do a little wedding prediction of just like what kind of trends we'll see at weddings, what couples like to do, what they don't like to do. And last year, I think I did this with 2024 couples. And then I had to recap at the end of the year. And probably like 40 or 45% of my predictions were like pretty accurate. So obviously, this is all just for fun. I fully support doing whatever you want for your wedding day, like whether it's an elopement and you just peace out of here with your bestie, get married somewhere cool, or if it's something super non-traditional, if it's a multi-day celebration, whatever, right? Like there's a lot of cultural wedding traditions that I think are really cool when people tap into those. There's a lot of, like traditional things we see here in America too that most couples choose to do. But I think it's amazing when they're just like, no, I'm just going to do me. So if these are like totally off par with what you're thinking and you're planning a wedding, don't let this influence you at all. Like this is just one wedding photographer's predictions based on kind of where I see trends have gone in the past and just for fun to see what could happen this year. So hopefully it's a super easy listen for you. And if you are planning a wedding that maybe you are like, yeah, okay, you nailed it. I'm totally doing something right here. And let me know that in the comments below. But for now, let's roll the theme song.
Creatives, are you struggling to keep up with all your clients' needs? Maybe you feel like you're swimming through emails, DMs, texts, and feel like there's no way to keep communication together. Not to mention keeping track of payments, invoices, contracts, and having to freak out at 2 a.m. because you forgot to email a lead client back. Yikes! My entire workflow shifted when I stopped DIYing my approach and switched to Honeybook. They are a powerhouse CRM, client relations management tool, if you didn't know, that acts as a coworker you've always needed. Honeybook helps with invoicing, payment tracking, contracts for every session under the sun, scheduling, lead forms, automations, and streamlining communication to one stop for you. Not to mention your clients will notice the professional difference you bring to the table with the Honeybook tools. If you're ready to step up your business and feel peace of mind with your client's approach, I have an exclusive offer for you. As a thank you for listening to the India and Stuff show, take 50% off your first year of Honeybook by going to share.honeybook.com/IndiaJadePhoto. Or if you're like me and that's way too much to remember, just tap the URL in the show notes. Now back to the show.
Possibly the biggest fashion trend I saw with weddings that came up last year is the anti-veil scarf. You've probably seen what I'm talking about. I'll add some pictures here. But basically it's this really lightweight fabric that you would have in like a soft silky scarf that kind of drapes just around the neck and flows really long in the back. It could be paired with like a strapless dress, or it could be serving as kind of like a reverse halter top for a bridesmaid dress. I have seen this both in brides wearing this. It's very chic. It's very classy. It feels like a new take on old money, if that makes sense. And I've also seen a lot of bridesmaids have this kind of a part of their look, and even guests wearing something like this. I personally love this trend, and I think it's really going to kick off this year. I think late summer of 2024, I really started seeing, ads for dresses like this and bridesmaids doing this and a couple guests at weddings having this kind of style. But I predict that 2025 will really be the year for the anti-veil scarf. And that's what's kind of cool about it, is that if you want a full elegant look with your gown, but you don't want to have a veil clipped into your hair and then remove it halfway through the day, it kind of is like the best of both worlds. So prediction number 1, locking it in, babies. All right. Oh, I also will say a little caveat to that prediction. I think to make it a little different from 2024, because it's probably been going on for about 6 or 7 months at this point, I think we'll see it to be a little more creative. So maybe some beading in those scarves. Maybe we'll see colors if you're a bride, like maybe that'll pop up. And kind of how we've seen like embedded floral elements and kind of like a more elegant take on it. I think we'll see people getting a little more creative. I could also see those scarves having like a lace that kind of flows into the train of the dress. I could see that'd be really pretty. Okay, next prediction. I think rich, silky, like sea blue basically will be a trending bridesmaids color. Now, the reason my data that I'm backing this up with is purely because of the 30-something weddings that I photographed last year. I think one of them had blue as the bridesmaid's colored dress. Okay, words. As the color for the bridesmaids to wear in their dresses. Why can I never speak? But I think it's a really elegant color, and I think a lot of people traditionally stray towards more warmer tones with bridesmaids dresses, like soft pinks or maybe more of a rusty copper kind of color, a little more earthy. And if they are going to do a cool toned color, it's usually like a sage or an olive green. That's just my, kind of what I've seen in trends recently. But I think blue is on the comeback, and I really think it's kind of like a cerulean blue look, not royal blue, but definitely not like turquoise either. That kind of rich, lighter palette, but especially with like a silky gown. Oh yeah. I can envision those, like a cowl neck would be really pretty. The high necks would be really pretty, strapless. I think that'll be kind of a look that a lot of bridal parties will be going for this year. On the same note, I do think navy blue and unique blue groomsmen suits will be trending this year. We have seen a lot of complete, like pure black groomsmen suits and groom suits. And I think they're always really classy. That will never go out of style. But I think, with a fresh year, and that's kind of been the trend for the last 2 or 3 years pretty consistently. If you think back to like 2012, 2015, it was really like a trend for the groomsmen to have just suspenders and like brown pants that everyone looked like they belonged to Mumford & Sons. But I do think this year we're going to see a little more creativity with the groom's looks and the groomsmen looks. I also just think either that like dark charcoal gray will come back a little bit more, and really rich, like nice navy suits will probably be a little bit more seen this year. It is harder, I think, when you're planning a wedding with those colors though, like you're kind of more limited to different colors. It's definitely like a choice, but I think it can look really, really elegant. I've seen it done some really lovely ways. I mean, all this is just, again, my predictions, but you will also never go out of style if you choose a black and white suit combo. Okay. As far as wedding colors go, I saw this one post where they were like, soft champagne is in, and yellow is in, and blue is in, and also green is in, and pink, yeah, that's in. And I was like, so every color is in? Like, again, it just points to like the silliness of all of this is just subjective. But as a frequent wedding attender and goer, I think I'm seeing the rise of cherry red and rich maroons. I think that could be really, really elegant in floral works, maybe even having different colored dresses for the bridesmaids, but holding rich red palettes. I think you could use a lot of cherries. You could use, you can get creative with beets and some other more natural textures to get those colors, grapes. But that kind of really rich red, I've seen some really pretty images, some inspo on those. Last year I did have a bride who was so cute. She thrifted everything for her wedding. Like, she thrifted all the stuff to do tablescapes, books, seating chart information, like taper holder candles, her own gown, I'm pretty sure. It was just beautiful. And one of the things she also brought for me to do with my flat lay pictures were cherries, like actual cherries, and like a really nice punchy red accent was on her invitations. And I was like, oh, I love this. And that's the only real time I saw that cherry red pop up last year, I think. But I'm really thinking that could be kind of the vibe I'm like envisioning for this year. I envision those weddings being more, maybe more intimate gatherings, and that maroon is not going to be paired with like navy or anything like that. It'll be like a standalone pop out color, and I think it could be really cute. So I'm also just a little delusional, and I'm just trying to like speak some of these weddings into existence. Okay. On the same note, I kind of just mentioned beets, and you're probably like, what do you mean beets? I envision and predict that in 2025, food centerpieces will start to become more and more popular. I've seen just a few of these last year. I participated and kind of helped like coordinate a styled shoot in Italy. You guys have heard all about that. And one of the things the planner and I talked about was having fruit on the table as part of the centerpiece. So we had pomegranates and pears and grapes just kind of cascading through the middle of the table, which I loved. I think it's so classy. And I think going forward, I've seen little bits of this on Pinterest, mostly not on any weddings that I've really photographed, but I think we'll start to see couples really step into this unique take on adding fruit and edible things into their centerpieces. Like imagine if you're doing a summer wedding, like outdoor vibes, very bohemian, but super cozy, family, you could have citrus, like lemons, oranges, you could have pears, grapes, cascading out of like a cornucopia style bowl, or even like kind of lifted up on, I don't know, like the way that we organize flowers and use floral foam and kind of create a scape with that. You could use that and put both flowers and fruit, I think, kind of cascading through the table. I think we're going to see more things like that. It's kind of like a food sculpture. I think it's really pretty. You can also get really creative with it. Like my friend and I were talking about how fun it would be to have different themed tables. So like tomatoes on the vine, and then another table has like garlic and, you know, florals that kind of coincide with that, lemons and, you know, greenery. It might sound weird if you're like not catching the vision, but I think it could be super elegant. And if you think like Dutch painting brought to life, yeah, it could be really cool, like really classy. So I predict we're going to see more foodscapes in the future, and I would love to photograph those ones personally. Okay, I also think another trend for this year we're going to see is straying away from a giant traditional party like for the wedding, and instead seeing more intimate backyard weddings and receptions, even destination backyard weddings reception kind of vibe. I have a few folks who I hope book in my, you know, emails right now talking about a intimate wedding with their family in Tuscany, under the stars, next to the Tuscan mountains, backyard celebration vibes, big, long Italian style, family style dinner table. Yes. All of that is a big yes for me. I just think that the party will always be a thing. That's never going anywhere. But to see more folks say, we're still going to have a party. It's still actually going to cost maybe the same. But instead of it being indoors in a curated space, in this traditional sense of like, there's the bar, there's the bathroom, here's the dance floor, here are your tables, leave whenever. Like more of a, let's go outside into the grass, into the woods, and underneath the tent or just the open sky, enjoy time together, like a big family meal style wedding celebration. Personally, I think I mentioned this before, that is like Ian and I's like first choice when we were planning, and I wish we could have done like a late summer, August or September vibe where you could have that nice weather and do everything outside. But we were like, nah, we'll just do it in November because we didn't have time to plan it all that fast. But super pretty, super classy. And then obviously if you don't want to do that and that's not the choice, you could do the same vibe for a rehearsal dinner, like an outdoor family style, you know, relaxed dinner. But I do predict that that will kind of become a trend this year. Okay. Now, if you don't do that, or I guess if you do, another trend I think we'll see with weddings this year is draping. I'm going to show you these. This is not a great example. These are our IKEA curtains. But this kind of idea of like draped silks and linens inside of a space to kind of elevate it and look more kind of like an artsy showroom rather than just a wedding hall, you know? I think draping would be a really inexpensive way to elevate any indoor space. Like, let's say you have a really tight budget, and let's be honest, weddings get super expensive. And so let's say the first choice wedding you want, wedding venue you want is like $10,000 or something, which unfortunately is very common. And so can't afford the $10,000 space, but there's one down the road that's only $5,000. And so you're like, okay, but it's not that pretty inside. Let's say it has that like awkward rectangly, what's it called? That ceiling that I hate that ceiling so much. You'll see it in like Walmart or in a old decrepit college building or something. It's got that kind of popcorn looking ceiling. And so instead of, you know, just going into the space, trying to put some string lights up and hope for the best, you could hire, you know, a designer team, probably for less, you know, than you'd spend on that $10,000 place, hang a lot of drapery over the ceiling and create kind of a smooth and silky surface to cover up walls or ceilings that just don't look as aesthetic as you would want them to. I'm not, again, 100% sure on pricing. I don't think it would be nearly as expensive to add drapery and everything, but I might be wrong. I also could see you taking like, these were really cheap curtains, either Amazon or IKEA. I really can't remember, but I'm pretty sure at IKEA, these same curtains are like $5 a piece. So you could, if you wanted to, create your own drapery and just install it yourselves with the venue's permission, I guess. But anyway, I just think drapery is super classy. It's kind of on the rise this year. And I guess the last few years I've seen it kind of on the rise. But I've only really seen it in those higher end budgets. And I really would just want to see, you know, what those prices look like, because I think it'd be amazing for anyone who just wants to make a space look a little more classy. Okay, and speaking of classy, another trend that I think is picking up steam is a very classy and chic photo booth. Now, I don't know, when you think photo booth, you're probably similar to me, thinking like, all right, someone's gonna go behind the little thing, have some silly props, take their pictures, and get a string of 4 photos. And it's usually fun, and like everyone enjoys those. But I have seen the trend of very minimalist but classy photo booths on the rise. One specific example comes to mind. I was just shooting a wedding last year, and they just had a black background. The photos printed out in black and white, and they had like a stool or something. So you could kind of take one of those like old timey portraits. It kind of reminded me of like the JCPenney's experience, if you remember going to JCPenney's as a kid to get photos with your family. But I thought that was a really sleek choice, because I was like, oh, there's no like silly little props or anything. But then the couple, who's all dressed up, gets a really nice image of them that's like, you know, printed out for them. It's a good keepsake, and it doesn't have to be all quirky and silly. Like you can actually, you know, get a really nice image to take home that looks pretty classy. So I do think those more minimalist photo booths are definitely going to trend this year. But you're never going to not have fun with those quirky ones too. Yeah, okay. Something else I think is on the rise is wedding guest dress codes. Now, personally, I like them for the most part, but I think they can get a little out of hand. And I just want to be careful with that, because I think it's a little, I don't know, it can be a little awkward if you're like sending out an invitation. You're like, you have to wear blue shoes to my wedding or you're no longer allowed and you will not be allowed inside. It's like, but so I don't think it's going to be like that specific, but I think the idea of putting on your invitation like, hey, what am I thinking of? Oh, like calling, wait, what? Bro, I just completely lost my train of thought. I think I was trying to say, Ian texted me and I got distracted. I think the idea that I'm getting at is that bride and grooms, when they're planning their wedding, can put a little like, hey, here's what we want you to dress like, or the kind of attire we want you to have, so that the event feels a certain way. I've seen a bride who got married close to Halloween do a costume reception. So they put on their invitations like, wear whatever you want to the wedding, but don't forget to bring your best Halloween costume for the dance floor. And I thought that was a really fun way to kind of do the best of both. I've seen people ask for black tie only, and specifically everyone wear black. Oh my gosh, have I told you this story yet? All right, we're going to have to do a sidebar and tell this story really fast. When I was dating Ian, he had a friend from college invite us to their wedding. And I'm just the girlfriend. So I didn't get the invitation and he got it and was just like, hey, do you want to come to this wedding, be my wedding date? They said I could have a +1. They want to meet you. You want to join? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Of course I want to go to this wedding. And so I had no idea on the invitation, they specified it was not only black tie only, but like literally black outfits. They wanted everyone in a black dress or a black suit. And so I'm, dressing up and I pull out this maroon dress that I had worn when I was a bridesmaid once because I was just out of college, I think. And I was like, I don't have a ton of money. I'm just going to wear what I have and not have to buy something new. And so I wear this maroon dress, which was pretty elegant. Like it was definitely fitting for the wedding. Except when we get there, I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, like everyone's in a black outfit except for me. And I had multiple people come up and be like, oh, I love your dress. So cute. And secretly, they're probably like, what is this girl doing? Like, where is her black outfit? And so I looked like the asshole because I'm wearing maroon to this girl's wedding that I've never met before. And then later I asked Ian, I was like, do you think this was supposed to be like everyone wears black? And he like looks around the room. He's like, no, I just think they all wanted to, And I was like, okay. And I'm like, ah. But the bride and groom were super sweet. They never said anything about it. They didn't seem to give me the stink eye, but I was just like, men don't know sometimes that like these are like dress code things. So anyway, I'm thinking that the dress code idea will still continue and maybe tick up in a trend this year, but I hope it's nothing that's too restrictive and more just like I had one last year and the dress code was wear florals, something easy, sundresses, really fun. So we're hoping for things that are just fun and that kind of make the themed night feel a little more, upscale and enjoyable rather than just like a dread. And that people don't wear jeans because I kind of hate when people wear jeans to weddings. Okay. Something else I think we'll see trending is grooms having multiple looks. I may have mentioned this on my predictions last year. I think we've seen a lot of brides having 2 gowns, maybe even 3 looks for the whole wedding day. And that I don't think is going anywhere. But I would love to see grooms kind of step into that fashion world a little more. And honestly, I have seen a little more of this recently, which is why I'm hopeful that this will be a trend this year. But I think when grooms do like one suit for the ceremony, usually just a suit jacket, and then maybe they'll switch and get a different thing going for the reception, it can just add a little visual interest to their look. And sometimes it can, just like make it feel like they care just as much as the woman usually cares about the whole vibe of the day. Now, again, the attire is not the focus of the wedding day. Nothing like this has to happen. But I've seen a couple grooms get really creative and have some fun with it. Like one wedding, he did a black suit jacket for the wedding ceremony and then a white one with black lining for the reception. And I think stuff like that's just really fun to kind of mix things up a little bit, add a little interest to the portraiture. And yeah, I love it when guys are into fashion. I think it's cool. Okay, something else I think we'll see trending is dry weddings. I saw a couple of these last year, just hot chocolate bars, just soda bars, that kind of thing. But also unique mocktails added to the wedding menu. Just like you would have a fancy cocktail or something on the bar list, I think we'll see the same, but like fancy mocktails so that your friends don't have to just order Shirley Temples all the time. I think it'd be fun to kind of step into that. And I think drier lifestyles are actually more and more popular, especially amongst younger crowds and Gen Z. So I think people are going to be stepping into that a little bit more, especially for pregnant moms or people that just don't drink. And we'll see a little bit of that. Some people totally hate blurry photos. I happen to love them, and I don't think they're going anywhere. This has been kind of a trend in photography for the last several years. We've seen intentionally blurry photos or motion blur captured in still images. And I personally Love it. I think a lot of people had a really negative reaction at first to blurrier images. But here's the thing. When it's intentionally blurry, or you can kind of capture that motion and emotion of the image, I think that will always be in style. I think it's always going to be a classy way to tell a story, because that's the whole point of that kind of photography anyway, right? When people mess up and make a blurry image, or you can kind of see the light moving in the background in a funny but not cute or clever way, I think that's when I personally am like, oh, okay, you can tell that that was a mistake, or maybe an amateur not really knowing how to use their camera, versus when it's a very intentional kind of image that's created with that motion in mind. So that's kind of a trend that I've seen the last several years. I still do think blurry images will be on the rise this year in wedding trends, but I could be wrong, and I want to know what other photographers think about that one as well. Something else I think will be trendy this year are destination weddings with a close group of family and friends. It's hard to predict if this is going to be a trend, if we've just seen a handful of wealthy people who can afford this do it, or whatever. But I do think, again, opting for an alternative version from that giant party, that traditional, here's a big hotel, here's a big ballroom, here's a big chapel, here we're doing all these things, and going for something like, hey, we're taking 20 of our friends and family and we're heading to Bali, and we're going to get married on the beach and have a, giant hotel or Airbnb that we're booking out, and have an intimate celebration and spend a week together. Love it. I have several clients who are talking to me right now about such things, not Bali, but a couple other amazing locations. And I just love when that's their vision, and when they're like, we love our close crew, and we'd rather go and just make this kind of a more than just an elopement, but not the whole big shebang, because it's just not our style. I think it's really cool. Okay. I also think staycation bachelor and bachelorette parties, trending this year. Trending. My data to back this one up is really just that I think spending on the wedding can get really out of hand, and a lot of clients, even luxury clients, are starting to be like, hey, let's save that luxury budget for the wedding day and use these other opportunities like bridal shower, bachelor party, bachelorette party to kind of do something still fun and still glamorous-ish, but do it more stateside. I've seen a lot of people do, like, there's an area called Hocking Hills in Ohio, and it's become, over the last several years, like the place to do a getaway. It's about an hour away from Columbus, so it's really accessible for the, majority who live there. And, renting out a giant cabin and having all your friends and crew just kind of hang out and celebrate for a weekend. It's kind of like the perfect thing. I think people will always still do that lavish bachelor party. We're going to Nashville. We're going to go boating in LA or whatever. And you should invite me. But also, I just think more people will keep it closer to home for the fact of saving a little bit of money, but also for the fact that when you're building a big bridal party, not everyone can take off the time of work and invest in something like that. And a lot of folks have kids or in that baby phase where they really can't be too far from home. So I think people are just a little more in that mindset of let's keep it close to home here and then go crazy at the wedding. Okay, and my last trend prediction for 2025, content creators. I have seen content creators really kick off last year. I've worked several weddings with a content creator. And basically what that is someone who's going around alongside of the photographer and or video team to create iPhone content or really smaller format video content of the wedding day. I think it's a really fun way to kind of provide the bride and groom with a different style of content. Like if you're doing a wedding film, let's say with Ian, my man, who's also part of the Indie Jade film team, you are going to get a high level, like high production value edit showing all the best moments of your whole wedding day, your ceremony, your speeches. There's going to be microphones, there's going to be multiple cameras, and you're going to look like a freaking movie star, That's the kind of stuff that a professional wedding filmmaker is going to bring to your day. When you hire a content creator, maybe it's because you don't have the budget for a filmmaker, maybe you do and you just want something else, but it's just going to be iPhone footage. And you might be thinking like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But no, like it's fun because we do live in such a digital age where when you're done with a cool event, the first thing you're going to do is open your camera and look at your camera roll and see your photos and videos. And speaking for myself, when I was getting married, I remember sitting down like on the plane the next morning to our honeymoon. I opened my camera roll and go, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see nothing, because I didn't take any photos or videos really on the wedding day. I have barely anything there. So the content creator's role is basically to be your camera roll for the day. And they can create those little short clips of iPhone content that you can look back to and go, oh my gosh, like that was so cute, that was so clever, and kind of piece together a pretty little piece of memories for just you. Some people do this too because they love TikTok and Instagram and they want to have like a different style to kind of capture their wedding on those platforms. But I just think it's going to become a little trendier this year for the affordability of it, because it's much cheaper than hiring a professional video team with much bigger and more expensive gear. But also I just think it is much more attainable and makes a lot more sense for someone who is kind of like me and has like a visual memory and needs to see those photos and video clips kind of in their camera roll to really go, wow, like this is that moment captured forever for me, even on an iPhone, because we are kind of skewing in that way. And iPhones are so common. Having videos like that, vertical videos specifically, is so normal that having that on your wedding day would be a really fun way and more attainable and accessible than maybe hiring a whole film team. But of course, if you're going to hire a film team, you should hire us. But yeah, I love chatting about these with you guys. I think it'll be a really fun wedding year. I think we'll see lots of color, lots of classy celebrations. We'll see lots of unique looks from brides, grooms, couples. We'll see people celebrating their love in their own unique way. And that makes this photographer's heart sing. So thanks for tuning in. I would love to know what your wedding trend predictions are for this year. Let me know in the comments below. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Also, how was your Valentine's Day? Hopefully it was great and a little steamy. Okay, that's all. Bye.